It's the Sod Pod, brought to you by Grassland Agro. The Sod Pod. Hello, and welcome to the Sod Pod. This is episode 12. On this episode, John, Claire, and Lauren had a great chat about things that are going on at the moment: grass, vest, sol, vita, flies, dry weather and wet weather that's after coming in as well, and what can we be doing at this time of year to try and maximise the returns. This episode's slightly later than normal today. John, happy birthday. He turned 32 today, but with all the excitement of that, he made a bit of a boo-boo. When the lads sat down to record, John forgot to turn on his microphone. We've managed to salvage it. We have a very good episode to go live. It took a lot of blood, sweat and tears to create it. Have a listen.
Hello everyone, welcome to today's episode of the Sod Pod. It's great to be back. How is everyone keeping?
All good, yeah.
I'm good, thanks, Lauren. And yourself?
Good. Can't complain.
The weather is good.
Yeah,
Well,
everyone's happy.
the sun is shining.
Although, I don't think John Loughlin's happy because I
Correct,
think he's a
Lauren.
little bit sour the last 2 weeks. Poor Claire got an awful beating.
His head has
That
been
is
going
true.
around.
It is true.
No.
I am very disappointed. I felt like we left Munster final behind us. I feel like we underperformed last year. We nearly overperformed, but I feel like we left one after us. Was made tougher the Tuesday after. We had a team meeting with all the Limerick lads. So I had to go into the Charleville Park Hotel. Took it like a champ. Went around, shook hands with every single one of them. And I said, listen, there'll be another day out in it, yeah.
Yeah, in fairness, Sean, you actually did take it quite well.
Inside I was so sick, and
the head was bowed though. You were
Deflated.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say at the end of it now, I'm not sure if much people know it, but I seen a brown envelope being handed over to Donabarrow at the end of it.
oh yeah, in
Limerick
fairness to
man.
him, he sorted me out with tickets.
No, he didn't. There was money in it. There was a bet on.
No, I wish. Yeah, he sorted me out with tickets. So fair play to him.
He did.
I actually made the fatal mistake of giving one to a Limerick man, Pat Toohey, as well. But you're listening, he was in the Clare end, but another
stop.
ticket wasted.
You need now Killian Buckley, like.
Yeah, come up with the trumps at the end of it, didn't he?
He did.
Lauren, we're getting a lot of slagging as well about, especially from Kyle Henbridge. He's a big Sod Pod listener. He was like, would you ever shut up talking about hurling and talking about rugby? And my God, Kyle, I'm delighted to be able to start talking about rugby because Munster obviously had a fantastic win a good while ago now, but we never gave it the time that it deserves, Lauren. Do you know? So listen, well done to Peter O'Mahony and all the boys. They're definitely listening. He's always out gardening. I think he actually does listen to this album.
like a Peter O'Mahony out gardening.
Yeah, I think like he likes the soil and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, no, there's been some massive matches now. It'll be up against you now. And
Oh yeah, so we've Dublin and yeah, listen, we don't want to mess it up so to possibly be in the contention for an All Ireland and then to get beaten by Dublin.
yeah.
Break our heart altogether.
In other news, anyhow, moving on swiftly, but I would like to congratulate David Corbett and Claire Aspel for graduating
Oh,
for
that's a
their
big one.
PhD only last week. So congratulations.
Dave took you by surprise, Claire, on the day.
He did. He showed up and I was walking along by myself and then David's head's popped up and I was very
That's
surprised.
never a good thing.
But yeah, it was nice. The two of us were there together and we were to receive it together. So yeah, it was a nice day out nice day out for the family and just to mark the occasion. But
Congratulations, a huge achievement.
Absolutely.
And you actually did your own PhD as well, whereas David, I wrote 65% of it for him.
Yeah.
Yes. But congratulations,
Absolutely.
especially to you.
Yeah, so look, lads, what's going on in Grassland Agro at the moment? What's everyone up to? There's a basically we're kicking off our soil health campaign and our Solvita and our grass vest, Claire. It's going very well at the moment, and especially with the weather, it's actually proven quite difficult to even get down and do a grass vest at the moment now. But things are going well.
Yeah, exactly, Lauren. We're kind of starting into that soil. This part of the soil sustainability program. So we're going into the grass vest and Solvita, and you're saying yes, the ground is very hard, but maybe it's softened, maybe a shake now with the bit of rain. But maybe not everyone's got the rain. But definitely where it has got rain now, it's going to be a little easier, and we're going to be able to dig down and assess the soil structure, assess the compaction, assess how active your soil is. Because just below the ground is equally as important as above the ground, and sometimes maybe we forget that. That, you know, if your soil is working for you, if your biological activity is on fire and moving about and creating that nice atmosphere, environment for the bacteria and stuff, you're going to get more out of your crops, you're going to get more efficiency out of your fertilisers, and just get an overall better production. I suppose we're heading into the next part of our soil sustainability programme at the moment. So all of our sales reps or ATCs are out around, and what they're at is grass vest and Solvita, where they're bringing their spade out to a field, digging down deep, and they are assessing soil structure, the compaction, and just having a chat with a farmer and just getting a conversation going about soil health in general. And they're also taking a Solvita sample, which is going out and with your soil core and taking a sample and sending it off to the lab to get it analysed for, say, your pH, your carbon to nitrogen ratio, your biological activity, and just how active they are in the soil. So it's basically about getting a conversation going about soil health and how can we help the farmers, or what their situation, and how can we improve their soil health in general and get more from the grass, basically get more production with less, basically.
Yeah, exactly. We're trying to get the baseline across the 3 pillars of soil health. So the soil sample is your chemical, and then the physical and the biological, we're doing the VES and the Solvita sample. So the VES, I suppose, is the visual evaluation of soil structure, Lauren, and it's very practical and simple to do, even though it may be not the easiest to dig the hole at the moment. But listen, I organised a bit of rain at the weekend, so...
Yeah, no, it's definitely not the easiest. I always say now is the best time within grass and agri to put on a few extra kilos to try and get the spade down deeper. But no, yeah, it's a very handy tool to have, I suppose, in the toolbox, where we can assess the soil structure, get out on farm, look at our own fields and see what our own soil structure is like. We might have some areas that are underperforming, and it could be an issue with soil structure that we're just not maybe aware of. So it's literally an app. You can download it in any app store, and it'll from start to finish, it'll bring you through the soil particles, aggregates, how porous the soil is, and then it'll go into our root mat. So it'll give us a soil structural score of 1 to 3 and a root mat score as well, so we can judge on farm then where we need to improve on and how we need to improve on. And I suppose that's the key, is it's all well and good going out and doing all this information, but how can we improve on that soil structure? Do you know, we're trying to make the farmers aware of where their soil structure might be hindered, but how do we make that better, whether it's mechanical intervention, whether it's mechanical intervention, or whether it's something like maybe applying some more organic matter. One thing that we've actually added this year to it is the grass vest and the Solvita, is we're looking at worm counts. So we know worms are an indicator of soil health, and I suppose the importance of that, John, and how we can use worm count to our advantage to assess soil health.
Yeah, the worm counts are another thing that was added this year, just to kind of, I suppose, really capitalise on the understanding for the farmer, because ultimately if there is a problem with structure, it's going to be the earthworm that's going to remediate that. So the earthworm is often described as nature's plough. So it's a very good way of opening up the soil, probably over and above maybe the mechanical intervention, Claire.
Exactly, yeah, I think so too, John, because when you go in mechanical intervention, you know, you could do more harm than good. Whereas the earthworm, it's meant to be there, it's natural, and as you're saying, it's going to open up the soil. It's going to get more aeration and more movements of nutrients, of roots, of water through the earthworm. So the earthworm likes to move up and down through the soil, and that's what's causing this these little pathways opening up the soil. So, and the earthworm is very visual. It's very easy for the farmer to see. Because we talk about microorganisms, bacteria, and there's millions and tons of it in the soil, but we can't see that without super high-tech microscopes.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the easiest way of, like, if you go out and you ask a child or you ask someone what's the best way or what looks like a healthy soil, they're going to say, well, it's full of earthworms, so it's a very, very good way of assessing a healthy soil. And look, fertiliser is down. We haven't spread as much fertiliser on farm this year, I suppose, with the weather and everything, and we need our soil to be as healthy as possible to try and combat or overcome the implications of spreading less fertiliser. And look, we are trying to spread less fertiliser, but we need to become more clued into our soil
We need
health.
to find the balance, don't we, between feeding stock. That's ultimately our competitive advantage, is the fact that we can grow pasture. And the pasture could include multi-species even now, clover and perennial ryegrass that we're more used to, but we can grow that and utilise it. So that's our competitive advantage. We were heavily probably reliant on nitrogen, but we weren't maybe getting the full benefit out of that nitrogen because maybe a structure issue. And listen, it's going to have a big impact on the grazing season as well, because if you have compaction there, it means you obviously have significantly reduced production of grass. We've seen that. We actually done a train event with our own team on a farm in Laois that was getting a lot of slurry and zero grazing, and you could see, really clearly where the tracks of the tram lines, would say, from the tankers had caused significant reductions in grass growth. But it also actually makes the ground a lot heavier. So instead of that water being able to drain through the soil profile, it actually has to be evaporated off. So it takes much, much longer. So it's a really big one. I suppose the other thing as well, the lads are sweating enough trying to dig the hole, but it's very clammy and humid as well, and there's probably a good few flies around.
Yeah, there is, especially, say, if you're in the milking parlour.
Yeah, you were milking this morning, Claire.
I was up bright and early milking the cows this morning.
There are flies out
Fair
in the
play
morning.
to you.
Flies out in the morning.
And Lauren, you're doing the weekend.
Yeah, sure. I suppose what else would you be at the weekends doing a bit? But no, yeah.
And where do I won't say it. I won't get on to revenue or
oh no, I'm not even going to say that. No.
yeah, you're better off saying nothing. But
yeah, no. Look, it is very humid out at the moment, and I suppose we need to be careful with not only flies but the worm burden at the moment. With the weather conditions the way they're after coming, and we need to try and come up with a way of managing the amount of dosing we're going with, because obviously there's huge resistance at the moment to different doses, and we need to try and reduce that. And look, I was at the Sheep 2023 open day in Gerteen College. It was a very good open day. Great crowds there. The rain set away, thank God. Myself, Noel Hamlin and Gordon Grant played an absolute blinder. No one else had come with us. No, and look, it was just the interest that was there for fecal egg counting and trying to reduce the amount of dose that we're going with. And yeah, no, farmers were just really, really interested in getting out fecal egg counting and seeing do they actually need to dose, see if there is that parasite burden before they actually do dose, to try and reduce dose on farm.
Yeah, exactly, Lauren. And I suppose you're probably talking about the V5 block that is available, which is going to help resist those worm burdens and give you that kind of extra benefit of not having to dose. And I suppose the way you're going to determine if you can dose or not, as you're saying, is the fecal egg counting. Yeah,
exactly. And it contains a fairly high level of garlic now, hence why John O'Loughlin, there's no flies on him. He's flipping chawing into it there. Yeah, no, that's exactly it, Claire. Using the Nutri-Fight to try and keep those flies away, repel those flies, and reduce the amount of worm burdens that we have at the moment. And we have reps calling out and doing fecal egg countings for farmers at the moment.
We were trained on the fecal egg counting there during the week, and key messages on that: if you take your fecal egg count in advance of dosing rather than after you dose. So to decide whether you need to dose or not, maybe switch around the active ingredient that you use to try and mitigate that resistance challenge that Lauren talked about. And I suppose it's very important that we're looking at thinking outside the box, and the VFI could have a role to play in that.
Yeah, and I suppose on that as well, we're trying to reduce the amount of dosing we have to go with. We're not trying to completely eliminate it. Yes, we'd like to completely eliminate it, but we're not there yet. You know, we're trying to reduce the amount of dosing that we have to go with throughout the year, which is really important. But
and I suppose it's becoming a little bit more important with all these different registers coming, and you might be a little more difficult to get dosing onto farm and the amount of dosing that you need. So you might have to go and approve anyway with your fecal egg count. So if you're able to prove you don't need dosing, it's going to be a bigger benefit, and you're going to maybe save on the cost or maybe save on labour. The thoughts of going out and bringing in 100 cattle and dosing them in a crush in the
Nothing
heat.
Worse. Nothing worse. That's with the veterinary registration that's coming, or register that's coming. So look, it's just kind of preparing for it, you know, and getting one step ahead. But I suppose just moving on from that then as well, the weather's been all over the place. We've had thunderstorms, we've had everything and anything going on or coming at us, and I suppose the big question is at the moment, do we need to go with fertiliser? Do we hold back? Do we go with it now? If we go with it now and we get a thunderstorm, is it going to be washed away? I suppose is the question that I have for the two of you lads. I suppose my own opinion would be that I'd reduce the amount of fertiliser I'd be going with. I'd probably maybe go with a half a bag rate. There is going to be a lot of nitrogen coming from the soil. There's a lot of mineralisation going on in the soil. And look, it does depend on the amount of rain and weather we're after getting at the moment. But John, what's your opinion?
Yeah. So it's very farm specific. Some people have got up to 70 or 80 mil of rain. Soil moisture deficits were probably on track for about 70 mil, but there was evapotranspiration and moisture were probably evaporated off the surface of the soil fairly quickly. Some of it ran off the surface of the soil as well, because maybe there was a little bit of soft rain that kind of got the ball rolling there. And then in Kilkenny anyways, there was a very significant rainfall then on the Saturday, and since then there's been kind of maybe 50 mil. Other places though haven't got the same amount of rainfall, but parts of the country weren't as badly affected by drought either. So I was down in the Grass 10 event of the Casey's down in Causeway in County Kerry, lovely part of the world, but they weren't really seeing the same effects of the drought. They were only maybe, had a growth rate of 50, which wasn't too bad at all. That was their lowest growth rate during the summer, and that was on the Thursday, and they got the rain on the Friday, so they'll kick on again. So it's very farm specific. If you have enough rain, I would be going with nitrogen, some potash and sulphur as well. I think that's a very, very important nutrients to come out of the drought, and to maybe, because we will have a lot of nitrogen mineralised from the soil, so you could get very rich grass. That could cause animal health issues, so either early embryonic death because of nitrate poisoning as well, or you could get bloat. So bloat is linked to that excess of nitrogen in the system. Yeah. We had the same thing last back end when maybe stock got bloat, and it wasn't even necessarily on just grass clover, it was on any sward at all. So I would maybe go with nitrogen, but I wouldn't go the full bull, and maybe something like Eco Extra could be a good option, Lauren.
Yeah, no, absolutely, that's a good point. Yeah, so Eco Extra is protected urea. It's limas coated. It's fully protected.
Just to quote Ian Connaughton, it's a fully protected, because I haven't heard of a half protected urea before yet, but this is definitely a fully protected, Lauren, isn't it?
It is. It's fully protected. So it's a 30 naught 6, 3 sulphur and a 6 sodium. So protected urea based. Obviously then we mentioned it's key to get a bit of potash in. We want to drive that water movement, drive those nutrients that are circulating around the plant and around the soil, which is really, really important now, especially if, God forbid, another drought or something comes. Our sulphur then, very important, and our sodium is going to help maximise that utilisation of grass and really, really help with those graze outs.
Exactly, Lauren. So I suppose is what we're kind of saying is farm specific. So kind of look at everything. Look at your soil moisture deficit. Look at grass growths. It has grass growths picked up. Maybe look about how much nitrogen you have put out already, or maybe just before the drought kind of kicked off, did you supply a lot of nitrogen and the grass growth didn't come? So maybe there's nitrogen in the soil.
Yeah, exactly.
So then, as you're saying, maybe with the Eco Extra, with the K in it, it's going to help move those nutrients around the plant. But then also with the sulfur, it's going to help get that nitrogen out of the soil and into the plant. And then when you're talking about bloat, or you're going to talk about nitrate poisoning in cattle, that sulfur is going to help convert that nitrogen into true protein, or more better quality protein that won't cause that nitrate poisoning. So I suppose very key nutrients, and kind of just look at your farm, how you're how they've done assessed it throughout the season. Maybe
I know exactly, Claire. Some really, really good points there. And I suppose the other part of that then is second cut is going to be upon us, and our farmers are they going to go with a lot of fertilizer now and try and bulk up that, or are they going to graze that second cut now? Some of them are struggling a little bit. John.
Yeah, so it's a big one. Like, I suppose, I think if you have enough moisture, go with nitrogen. The sulfur is very important. The potash will help the plant recover. In reality, it depends on when you took your first cut. So your first cut mightn't be too bad if you actually were a little bit later. But what has happened in maybe some of the earlier first cuts, they were really badly affected by drought, predominantly in the eastern and the southwest side of the country, and all they've done is push up a lot of seed heads. You would probably, in my opinion, be better off cleaning that off, grazing it if you can, or baling or whatever, and then turn it around, because it probably did not receive much slurry or fertilizer. A lot of people who went with that slurry or earlier on silage are very disappointed, because it is almost burned into the soil, and there could be a potential risk of contamination of bringing that in. So listen, it's very farm specific. I suppose the key messages, though, just in relation to understanding the drought, is to understand your growth rate. Walk the farm every 5 days. Keep your rotation length out to maybe 22 or 25 days until such a time that you're actually in a surplus of grass, and then you can take out concentrate and reduce your rotation length. But it's very important to build up that cover, so you get your average farm cover maybe back over 500 if it has slipped, and that you keep your cover per cow in around 160 to 180. One of the key challenges for a lot of farms is going to be trying to correct quality. The key is not to rush in until you get your cover per cow up over the 160 to 180, topping or taking out bales or anything like that. Until you get out past that, while the growth rate should rebound fairly significantly and quickly, just make sure to give yourself that little bit of breathing space. What I'd be saying in that situation is, like, it's going to be a combination of probably primo and topping, taking out surplus bales. And there's no right or wrong way of doing it. Even the diehard people who were saying that everyone should get rid of their toppers, in different organisations, are saying that it should be a good job. Like, and listen, a bit of topping is no harm.
Exactly, yeah. Maybe the bit of topping, you'll be returning maybe some of that litter or that grass back to the sward, and that's going to help maybe add to maybe organic matter, or add to that, soil health. And just, instead of depleting your soil of carbon or organic matter, you're just going to add maybe a little bit extra back into it. And when the soil gets up and start mineralising, it's going to break it back down again, and you just maybe feeding the soil a little bit, maybe instead of taking back out again.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we're taking so much off it, the animals, they're taking off whatever they need for their meat, for the milk, and then it's going back out. But like, we're taking off so much, and I suppose anything at all really that we can put back out is going to be a carbon source. Yeah,
it's very important and very valuable. And I suppose, listen, it's a challenge on a lot of farms. It's been a very challenging year. I suppose the fertilizer piece is back too much that it's worrying me that we could be in a potential fodder crisis. We've talked about a lot, very challenging springtime, very early winter, a lot of silage fed during March. March is a very difficult month. There was bits of silage in, and then more silage was nearly fed. Silage that was made there in May was actually fed back over the last couple of weeks, and there's not a stitch of silage in the eastern side of the country. I know in the west it's probably a little bit better, and grass is still growing strong, but there's probably such a deficit around the country that the west won't be able to bail the east of the country out of it.
Yeah, exactly. So I suppose it's very important that you assess maybe what kind of silage, how much the quantity of silage you have in your yard left, and maybe go from there. Depends what kind of nitrogen or phosphorus or potassium you want to put back out onto your silage ground, and because you do want to grow that crop and secure your place for this winter, especially if we get an early winter this year, maybe, or maybe a late spring again in 2024.
Yeah,
so
would
it's
be
very
good,
important.
Yeah.
And I suppose if the crop is growing, you're going to hope to take up that nitrogen, so you won't be lost to leaching in the back end of the year. So if your crop is growing, you have a good opportunity to uptake that nitrogen.
Grass grows grass, John.
No, you have it.
I hope.
Cliches, but the one crop I will say that's flying it, because a lot of while the rain was great, it flattened a lot of corn as well. It's just such a sickener for the poor tillage farmers. But another crop that, in my opinion, that's flying is maize.
Yeah.
And even if you do your fodder budget, and if you are in a deficit, look to maybe book your maize or try and talk to a contractor. A lot of them grow it on hire or on contract, so that you can do a deal maybe to come up with another forage source that you can feed, a high energy, low protein. You can feed the cows in springtime with a couple of kilos of spring grass. You get them off to a great start next year, or else even having a bit of maize, maybe even as a insurance policy against drought in a small pit or something like that. Listen, I think maybe farmers in the southeast are getting really sick of getting burnt by the drought, and are thinking outside the box now going forward.
Yeah, actually, just when you talk about maize, I agree with you saying that maize is absolutely flying. But one of our agronomists, Edward Healy, was out on, and we were actually there yesterday. Sorry, we were there training, doing a bit of clover scoring and our grass vest and our salvita. But we were in a field. It was just outside. It was in Goran in Kilkenny, and maize hadn't gone into the field since 2016. And when we were digging down to look at the soil structure, we could see the plastic still, and we could still see a little bit of the fibrous part of the maize. Like, it was just mad, just really eye opening. Like, you know, that plastic was still there. So, look, it might be an option to give it a go without the plastic. And I think the maize that doesn't have the plastic is really flying it a little bit better, because it's so humid and so warm out, you know. So yeah, it was just an interesting sight to see, in fairness. But yeah, look, lads, that's, I suppose, all from us this week. Thanks very much, Claire and John.
And thank you, Lauren.
Oh, thank you, Lauren, for taking over.
Oh, James, don't put that in. You're so rude. Thank you very much, John, for making us talk here for 47 minutes because you forgot to turn on your mic.
I did.
I've texted James saying, John, fuck the podcast. I know.
More slacking for John.
Yeah. It's two in a row now. I messed up. Yeah.
You won't be allowed on to him next.
Well, hopefully that's what I'm going for.
Oh, jeepers.
Oh, stop. No, look, thanks a million, lads. Chat to you soon.
A big thank you to the lads there for that episode. Lauren on sound, Claire on structure, and John on mute. Mind yourselves out there. Farm smart, farm safe. Hey, thanks for listening to the Sod Pod. We hope you enjoyed it. To find out more, head over to www.grasslandagro.ie or check out our social channels: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn and YouTube. That's all for this episode. See you next time.